Hey, I'm Gopar. This is another video in the How to Build Your Own Web Framework series. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started. So for this video, we actually have some goals. So what are they? Well, it's going to be these at the add section over here. So it's going to be add a response class, add an endpoint class, handle the method not allowed, which is a 405, and then have some example of handling requests. So these are going to be the commands that will run in the terminal once we actually have something. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. So first things first is we're going to add the response class, which we already have a class request. So let's go ahead and do that. Response, and then def create the constructor. Let me make it bigger so you guys can see it. Self, and then we're going to expect the content type. We're going to set it to none. We're going to set a body to none as well, because sometimes there might be responses that don't require anything, like a 204. And then we're going to have a status of option. Actually, we can just do HTTP status. There we go. And that's just going to equal none for now. Okay, so the standard boilerplate, content type equals content type. And then body equals body. You know the deal. Status equals status, status, and then status. Actually, if status is empty, then we might do or HTTP status.OK. We're just going to default to that. And then we're actually going to update that. So we're going to do int status, and then self dot, not self dot status, status. Oh yeah, this is self the status, my bad. Self the status dot phrase. So again, look up the documentation, but the phrase just basically says the HTTP verb equivalent. So let me show you HTTP status. So if we do phrase, it will just say right here. Okay, so depending on what it is, on what error, not error code, but what HTTP verb it is, it'll give the correct one. So yeah, that's pretty much it. So pretty straightforward, at least once you know. F string invalid syntax. Why is it invalid? Because I did not close this out. There we go. That should be right now. Okay, that should be right now. F string single not allowed. We also got this one. Okay, cool. So let's go ahead. We have the response class. What else are we going to need? Well, we are also going to return need a class, not a class, but a function called asBytes, and you will see what it does. So if the content type, not lowercase, not in default content types, we're just going to say that, and default content types is this, remember, the application JSON. So we're just going to do that. And we're saying if that's not in there, we are going to just raise an error, just value error. Sure, why not? We're just going to say invalid content type. Sure. Just simple as that. And then conversion is just going to map. So application JSON is a JSON.dumps. So we are going to import JSON as well at the top. Import JSON, and let's go back to where we were. Why is it not taking me? Okay, whatever, I'll just go there. JSON dumps, and then we will also add text HTML. And that will be a no-op operation. So for those who don't know, no-op is just fancy terminology for saying a no operation. No operation. So sometimes you'll need things like these just to handle the basic edge case, or some type of edge case where you don't actually need to do anything, but you want to conform to whatever's going on. So a simple thing is like this, right? So if we have right here, we're saying we have JSON, so we're going to do this to transform it into JSON. If we had an XML in here, we would also add some function to transform whatever we're going to touch into XML. But if we're passing just text HTML, it's already in the form that we want to, so we don't really have to do any transformation, and that's called a no-op. It's just something right there. So that's kind of a quick summary, or at least on that. Let's see. That looks about right. Actually, let's add a comma so that it breaks down. Yes, I like that better. Okay, cool. Now that we have that, we're going to do body equals conversion. And we're going to say whatever content type it is, we're going to grab it, and then we're going to pass in the self.body to the function that returns, and we're going to encode that in UTF-8 so that we get bytes. And then we are going to return the body. So yes, that is what bytes does. And then we're going to use that whiskey response. We're going to say body equals self.asBytes. There we go. And then we're going to grab the length of the content. So it's some length of B for B in body. So we're just going to grab how big the response is because we want to be nice and let the client know how many bytes to eat up or to figure out. That way it doesn't have to guess. And then we're going to do content type as well. And we're going to do content type, and the other one is content length. Yes, we grab the length, so we're going to use it. Length is length, and we need to convert that into a string. Cool. And now we shall return that. So we shall do status, headers, and body. There we go. And that uses it. Let me add a comma because I like it better like this. All right, cool. Whiskey response. It just prepares the response for the server, how the server would like it. Cool. That is pretty much it for, what is it? The response class. Cool. We added a response class. What's the next point? An endpoint class. So, okay, let's go ahead and add that. So we're going to do class. And then the way this is going to work is that it's gonna follow something I saw from one of these frameworks. I don't remember, but anyways, we're gonna do this. If slash equals some type of endpoint, let's say index endpoint, and then slash pizza equals the pizza endpoint, things like that, right? So this is how we're gonna use the mapping. And to do that, we're gonna create a class called endpoint, and we're just gonna do that. And each class will not only handle the route in the web framework, but will handle the HTTP. For example, it's going to have def get and def post, def post, def delete, all that. And if, for example, if someone makes a post request on this endpoint, then it'll look, say, hey, do we have a post method? If it doesn't, then it's going to return a 405. So that's how we're going to know. But for now, we're going to name this one cars endpoint. So def get self.request, request, and then the type is going to be request. Booyah. So I'm going to return a response if someone asks for this. So I've not been very diligent with my typing throughout some of these methods. So for example, these two, I didn't add any types, but that's fine. You guys can go ahead and add them and make them more robust. Usually when I code, I try to add as much typing as I can, but since this is just a tutorial, I'm not really too rigid about it, but hey, it is what it is. Take it with what you will. All right, so let's go ahead. Body equals, what do we have? We're just going to return a cars. So in this function, what you would normally do is you would hit the database, like, right, query db for cars. Since this is out of scope for this tutorial, we're not going to really do that. We're just going to hard code these values in. But of course, you can go ahead and add them. You can use some type of database ORM like SQL Alchemy or Tiny ORM or things like that. Any other ORM that you like, you can use it in here. So we're not covering this. It's not like Django where it has a lot of things built in. If we're trying to build the Django from scratch, it will be forever to finish. So this is just the bare bones to get you guys something. All right. So ideally you would have something. We imagine we fetched it from the database and we are prepping it up for the client. So let's just say Dodge. No, that is not how you spell Dodge. Honda. You got a little Honda. You got a Kia. Fun fact, my first car ever was a little Kia. It was not the greatest car, but it got me from A to B from college, so I can't really complain. HTTP. status.ok. And that is it. So remember, we don't really have to explicitly pass in the HTTP status because it'll default to, yes, it'll default to a status of OK. But I always like being explicit. I don't like things being implicit because then you kind of have to dig through the source code and try to figure out, well, what does it default to? So even if it defaults to a certain value, I still like to pass it in as the keyword argument, just to be more explicit, more even though it is more verbose, I'd rather it be clear than kind of just someone just assuming a value. So yeah, because I've seen a lot of bugs happen that way. Oh, well, I just assumed it did this. I was like, no, read the code, man. But yeah, here we go. And it has happened to me too, where I've said that I assumed it did this, and they've told me, no, read the code. So that's how I learned. So, okay, post also returns a response. So we're going to do, actually, before we return, we need to get the payload that was sent. So json.loads request.whiskey input.read. So you're saying, yo, where's this whiskey input stuff? Well, this is actually from the request class. So over here, it's actually in part of the environment dictionary, and we are just reading that. So we're getting some type of object called whiskey input, and we're going to read from it. That's the function. We're not going to go into too much detail since this is web server related, but nonetheless, if you want to get the payload, we have to read this whiskey input and then read it. So that's how we get the payload. Now, once we get the payload, we're going to, or once we get the input, we're going to convert it into JSON by passing it into the JSON parser. And that's what we get the payload. Magic. So we're going to get the new card from the payload. Payload. So as you can see, there's a framework might seem mystical, but once you get to the itty bits, it's actually quite simple what they're doing, or a lot more clear. And of course, you can get way more into deeper stuff if you're much more interested. You can look at the other frameworks, or you can look at that PEP that I listed or linked in the first video. So yes, if you want to create a web server, that would be something I would be down to show a minimal version as well. So let me know if you guys want that. But yeah, let's continue. All right, cool. So we have the car, and we're just gonna, again, if you get a new car, you would update the DB with the new car or whatever business logic you have. Body equals cars, and we are gonna get this same list, except we are gonna add it at the top, the new car, like that. And we are gonna add a status of HTTP status dot created, because this is a post endpoint, and usually when you update something or you add something, you return the correct response type, which is created, which is a 201, I think. I can't remember the number, but anyways, as long as you get it right, it should be fine. I won't come after you in your sleep, you know. I won't haunt you in your dreams if you use the wrong verb, or maybe I'm using the wrong verb here. Let me know. I don't know. I might be using the wrong. All right, cool. So I think that is it for the cars endpoint. Looks good. What else do we have to do? So we have this. Oh, handle method not allowed. So that one should be straightforward. Should be like the similar, the rest one, where it's 4 or 5. If route is none. Okay, we should be in a similar state as this one. Let me just copy and paste it over here. So, okay, actually it's not bound, it's method not allowed. There we go. And that should be fine. Route method. And I'm going to need to do that again. Content type text HTML, start response. That looks right. So I think that's it. Yeah, so the only thing we needed to do was just update this type. All right, cool. So that does it for the method. I believe that's how it does it. Well, we'll see once we run the server, right? There might be something that you guys are screaming at me, like, you're doing it wrong. But we'll see. All right, example of handling requests. Well, before we can do that, we need to update this. Actually, I'm getting a linter error. Syntax error, invalid syntax. Why is this invalid syntax? I don't get it. Return response. How is this invalid? Oh, I forgot the comma. There we go. simple things. Let's see. So actually we can just do, so we can say, hey, the cars endpoint is going to be this, and I'm going to do cars endpoint like that. Boosh. So, I mean, we can have it like this if we like. We can just say, hey, cars like this, and then keep adding more endpoints as we go, but we'll do that. So routes equals routes. Ta-da. Things like that. Okay, so moment of truth. Let me go and run this. And let's see. G unicorn, if I could spell it. Tutorial. What is this for? And we're saying app, and I want you to be in port 9999. Ooh, starting G unicorn, retrying. Why is it retrying? Is there something already in that process? No. Actually, there might be something. Hold on a second. Proset. Python. Oh yeah, there is something already. Let me kill this one and send the kill command. Python. Let me kill that one too. Go Python. Actually, I refreshed it. Okay, there's no more. Cool. So if we do that, I killed all the process. Let's go ahead and see what we have. No module named tutorial 4. Of course there's no module because it's supposed to be an underscore. So let's go ahead and do this. And ta-da, it works. So if I go ahead and move to this one, Control X, provide a new shell, and I do that like the command said right here. So we're not going to do a post. We're going to do a get, and we want to make sure that it actually works. Ooh, what the heck? This is not what I was expecting. Create error, robust. Ooh, this is interesting. Internal error. What happened? This is something else. Okay. That was wrong app. There we go. I was curious why I said Django. So internal server error. Okay, cool. We're back on track. Let's see. What do we have? Missing required positional argument request in cars endpoint. Yes. So we are not passing the request route method. Yes, there we go. So we need to pass in the request into the method itself. Otherwise, we don't really know what to do. So right here, the only thing we need to really do is just pass it in. So okay, let's do that again. Hopefully this works now. Internal server error. Okay, I guess it's going to be a learning process for both you and I, whoever is watching. 97. What is wrong with this? Oh, because I'm not saying the valid content type. Okay, so let's go ahead and actually define the content type in the responses as well. So content type equals application /JSON. This should actually quell it because we're not passing it. You can do some error handling like default to JSON if you want. Up to you. But for now, I am explicitly doing everything. So response headers. Oh my gosh, this is why response headers reference before assignment in line 78. It should be response. Oh no, that should just be headers. Huh, how did that revert? That should have been fixed. Interesting. Alright. If this doesn't work, I quit, I retire. You know. It kind of worked. What happened? Type error B is not a byte. Oh, this is not supposed to be a list. That's just supposed to be the body itself, the raw body. So let's go ahead and do this. Okay. Booyah. Okay, I guess I don't have to retire, or maybe I do. I don't know. All right, cool. But it works. As you can see, we make a request and we get the application JSON, and here it is, beautiful. So what happens if we try to do a delete verb? We should get a 405. Method not allow, yes, because we don't actually have it. But if we try to do a post and we pass in what's the payload that we're searching for in the cars endpoint? We are searching for car. So that's the endpoint entry. Car equals YouTube. Ta-da! You see, it's right there. And as you can see, this is what we passed in. We passed in a payload of card, and to-do. That's how it's done. Now, again, if we try to do something like delete, or what does it put? It'll say, yeah, method not allowed. So it's simple. So we got something going. So now you can add more endpoints to this example as you go. Right now you can add as many endpoints as you like. So go ahead and try it out and let me know what you think. And then in the next video, we should be wrapping up with some middleware stuff. But that is it. Thanks.